It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, and this is kind of a special episode of Old Favorite Friday for us because this is the 156th beer that we have done for Old Favorite Friday. And for those math nerds out there, you can tell that because we do one of these every week. So 52 weeks in a year, and that means that we have done 3 years now worth of Old Favorite Friday beers. And for 3 years, I've been talking about my passion for incredible craft beers, beers that are timeless, beers that have been around for a long time and might not get the appreciation that they deserve because they're ubiquitous. You can find them all over the place, or they're just older, and we kind of have this notion in society that we want something new all the time. And a lot of the time, I'm kind of preaching about these beers, but it's also a great thing for me because there's so many of these beers that I love that I haven't had forever. And this is a perfect example of this. This is a Hofbrau Delicator. This is their Doppelbock. I have not had this beer in years. Absolutely have not had this beer in years. It's fantastic. It's a crime that I haven't, but I saw it on the shelves. I end up reviewing a lot of kind of treated, spiced beers around Christmas, a lot from American breweries, or I end up doing a lot of Belgian-inspired Christmas ales because those are very popular. But this Doppelbock is absolutely fantastic. It's from a great brewery, 8.4%, and as much as I love doubles, Trappist doubles, I love brown ales. I love the Imperial brown ales. There's not a lot out there, but when I can find one, I love that style so much, and I forget almost regularly how much I love Doppelbocks because they give me all that mouthfeel, the breadiness, the caramel, the hints of chocolate, dark fruit, dried fruit. I get all that from a great Abbey Double and forget that the Doppelbock gives me all of that as well, and really, really comes through, especially with a beer like this that is not sweet at all. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's some hints of fruit here that kind of convey a little bit of sweetness, but it finishes really dry and a little bit earthy. It has some noble hop flavor to it. And when you take an 8-something% beer with all these kind of fruity chocolate toffee, these dessert characteristics in general, and give it to me in a package that is this drinkable and is a beer first and not a candy bar, I just get really, really thrilled. This brewery's been around forever. Looking back at this beer, I was trying to do research on when this beer was first made, and I saw a lot of different things online. I saw the 1920s this beer being brewed first. I saw way before that, so I'm not exactly sure how long they've been producing this beer. You also might see this beer on the shelves. I don't know if they still do it, but at least in the past, it was a winter special marketed that way in the U.S. This is Delicator. I don't know that, if they changed over that and now they branded it across the board with the same name. But we see that a lot with imported beers of giving them a different name in the States than they had in their country of origin, which is interesting. I love seeing the original packaging design and the original, the way that the beer is presented in its classic form. I love so much, but this is fantastic. It's a beer that's really age worthy for another. We talk about those a lot on Old Favorite Friday, beers that you can put down. They're gonna mature and taste different over time. I've talked a lot about the flavors already, but you're getting that toffee and caramel. I'm getting that like light dusting of almost like a bitter cocoa, which is really, really nice because it balances the beer out really well. There is fig, there is raisin, but it's just the kind of beer that is going to, every time you go back to it, you're going to taste something a little bit different. And the kind of beer that you want to let warm up a little bit because you're going to express more flavor that this beer, and then it is going to be like ice cold. We definitely don't want, that'd be a crime to drink this beer freezing cold because it's going to mute all those kind of flavors. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm so thrilled that I was able to pick this beer up and rediscover it like I do with a lot of the beers for Old Favorite Friday. The other thing I love about this beer and this brewery is that you go to the Hofbrau website and they give you food and beer pairings. I am a food and beer guy. I did wine and food pairings years and years ago. I've been doing this in some way, shape, or form with an alcohol and food pairings for almost 20 years now. And I love talking about those. I always give you guys food pairings when it comes to this. And I like when a website from a brewery tells you what they think goes well with it because they know the beer really, really well. I know because I have my beers at Barrel Monk so often. I really have a handle on what I think goes best with them, and they obviously do as well. They really hammer home roasted meats and say that's really the best pairing for that. They also call this a quote unquote dessert beer, and I can see why, because they have all those flavors that would really complement some desserts. So I think the roasted meats, I think going with like a gingerbread cookie, I think there's some really good things. Pecan pie, there's a lot of things you can go with this. I'd like to see game meats. I think I think they even mentioned maybe on one source I looked at venison being a really good pairing for this. I think there's some natural fruity flavors that balance out with those game meats really well. One thing I'll throw in the hat here for a good pairing. I'd like to see a risotto, maybe even a truffle, a white mushroom risotto, big, creamy, rich, and earthy. This has some earthy hop notes to it. It doesn't dominate the beer, but I think with the fruity notes and the fact that it is dry and really drinkable and has body to it at 8.4% could stand up to the creamy richness of risotto, and that earthy component could bring out some more of the hop flavor, and the fruity aspects could really lend into the risotto well. So that would be a real good pairing in my opinion. Haven't had it before. This is just me kind of off the top of my head thinking about how this beer would work well with a different piece of, or a different food item, I should say. Yeah, if you have an opportunity to pick this beer up, I picked this up at Total Wine and More. I have not seen it in grocery stores, but you look at your specialty craft beer stores. Hopefully, they have this beer still available if it's still in the Christmas season. A lot of the like crazy beers, you get the adjunct laden beers. A lot of those fly off the shelves real quick. A beer like this really should, because it's that good. But you might get lucky and still have this beer available around you. Pick it up. Fantastic beer. Hofbrau in general, you can't really go wrong. They make really good beers across the board. So cheers to those guys. Thank you guys very much for joining us for which is basically our 3rd year anniversary of Old Favorite Friday. We're going to continue to bring these to you for the rest of this year and going into 2025. I would love to continue to hear more recommendations from you guys of the beers that you love to drink, your classic, your favorites, the beers that you think do not get the love and respect that they absolutely deserve. And we will see you again next week. Cheers.